eat fish? Have you ever thought about where it comes from? There are two methods, farm-raised or wild-caught. But which is better for you and for the planet? The answer isn't as obvious as you may think. I'm Jess Barron, the GM of Livestrong, and we traveled to La Paz, Mexico to visit a sustainable, healthy fish farm, to meet the founders and swim inside the deep water pens with their farmed Baja Campachi.
It has a lot to do with knowledge, that most people spend most of their time on land. There's not a lot of people who come out to visit the Sea of Cortez. There's not a lot of people who go out fishing, and there's not a lot of people who've witnessed industrial scale commercial fishing. So what we need to do is, I think, continue to create awareness about these problems and the solutions.
Omega Blue founders James and Cody invited us to see with our own eyes exactly what their standard means. We toured their hatchery and swam in the deep water pens in the Sea of Cortez with adult Baja Campachi. We had heard that fish farms were crowded, unhealthy, and that the fish were living in their own refuse and being treated with antibiotics and hormones to ward off disease, parasites, and bacteria. We also know that the large deep water fish that we love to eat, like tuna, contain dangerous levels of mercury and can also contain plastic, whereas fish such as these Baja Campachi can be raised with little to none. We began to understand why this special new method of farming deserves attention.
If you have too many living creatures in a small space, there's a higher chance of disease. Well, with fish and aquaculture, the industry is just now kind of evolving, and some of the first large aquaculture operations followed the same model of industrial scale agriculture, and they said, how do we maximize our profits and minimize our risk? And they did that by putting as many living creatures in a small space as possible and then giving them antibiotics to mitigate disease. Well, that's a problem, but it's not necessary. It's not a necessity of the model. It's a necessity of the financial greed model. The parents of our fish that you're going to see today are a wild species that are swimming all around here. So my business partner Terry caught the fish, put them about a dozen fish at a time in our land-based pools, and create an environment that allows them to be relaxed and comfortable and mate and breed. And then the babies are very carefully kept alive until they are large enough to put back in the grow-out site in the open ocean pens, and then they'll spend the next year and a half out there. So we've only taken from the wild 100 fish from the wild, and we've produced over 500,000 fish to date. As opposed to a wild-caught model where you have to take 500,000 fish out of the ocean. And right now, demand is content to just say, oh, I only want wild-caught. And that could be supporting unsustainable methods that have massive bycatch. Purse seining, for example, if you put out a really big net and try and encircle an entire school of tuna, swimming with that school of tuna is going to be other species of fish and sharks and dolphins or whatever else. So by just putting out a really big net and encircling a school of tuna, you're not just getting your high dollar large ahi or bluefin, they're going to catch other species that swim along with them. Generally, bycatch is dead by the time it gets up. So it's really difficult to do something on such a large scale and be conscientious of every individual thing. So bycatch is a huge problem with those sort of large industrial scale fishing operations. And that is the bulk of the seafood supply chain in North America and around the world. In other parts of the world, there's fishing methodologies that are insane, like dynamite fishing and cyanide fishing. These things are just ridiculous. We shouldn't be allowing these things to sneak into the seafood supply chain just because we arrogantly or lazily say, I only want wild-caught fish. Ask more questions.
The time to create change is now. Unfortunately, wild fish can't reproduce as fast as the world's 7.6 billion people can eat them. With increasing demand for sushi, poke bowls, shrimp, and salmon, the world currently consumes more fish per person than ever before. If we keep draining our oceans, we could run out of seafood by 2048.
In order for us to change the seafood supply chain and stop putting excess pressure on wild stock, we need people to appreciate where that fish came from.
People really care where their beef comes from, and people really care where their produce and their chicken's from. Like, there's, you go to some supermarkets and there's a whole organic, beef or protein section, and the fish just kind of gets off to the side. So it's kind of like the last of the Wild West, where people just assume just because it's from the ocean, it's I guess healthy, a healthier option, and that doesn't make sense. The more questions that people ask as the consumers and demand with their dollars, the more change will happen. And it really starts from the consumer.
That sort of Portlandia effect, where consumers want to know where did their fish or their chicken or their beef come from, is playing really well into what we're doing as far as trying to create a farm-to-table story and help people understand that this is not industrial scale farmed hamachi. This is Baja Kampachi farmed to the Omega Blue standard using, no antibiotics, no hormones, grown in low density open ocean pens.
Our Kampachi, the flavor profile is just sweet. You can sear it, you can bake it, you can poach it, you can make sashimi out of it, and it's foolproof. It got this really sweet flavor. There's no lactic acid buildup in it. It's never been stressed out. So it really shows in the flavor. And it's just the best fish that I think that anyone can use.
This is a beautiful sushi grade fish, and when you taste the fish, you'll taste this water around here, the terroir of this environment. This water smells and tastes beautiful, and it translates to the fish. It really tastes like this environment. And I really hope that more people will go out and jump in the ocean and go sailing and come visit us down here. We have this open door policy where we invite people to come down and see the operation, to taste the feed that the fish are eating, to swim with the fish, to see the clarity of the water. And only when we know and understand and appreciate something do we tend to care. And I think that's part of the challenge, is that for some reason there's this out of sight, out of mind mentality with a lot of people, and that allows industry to take advantage of it, And so we just need more people to go swimming, more people to go surfing, more people to go sailing, go spend time in the ocean, and maybe you'll have a curiosity on where your fish is coming from, because we are part of the ocean, and people are gonna feel better when they go in the ocean, and maybe they're gonna ask more questions. And if they ask more questions, they will change demand.
A powerful movement has started. People are beginning to care where their beef, chicken, and produce comes from, and now we need to focus on seafood. We're starting to lift the veil on the harms of large-scale industrial farming and fishing, which exploits our oceans and disrespects us as consumers. We have to start paying attention and asking questions. It's our money and our lives. Yes, we want the benefits of protein and omega-3s in our diets, but not at such a high cost to our health and to our planet's future. Let's make sure we understand what we're eating. You can use resources like the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch app and their website to research your food and make healthy, ocean-friendly choices. If we all make an effort to get educated and choose the best options, together we can make a difference.